What up, my freaks? Ruinous Insight here with part 51 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Archaon the Everchosen Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, the big battles do continue, and we got a pretty great one with our artillery battery, our hell cannon battery army, which I was very happy about. And it looks like this episode is bound to be no exception, as we ended off last episode with the village getting attacked by three stacks of orcs, and quite elite orcs at that. We got 4 rogue idols in a single army here, 9 artillery pieces, black orcs, biggins of the regular and the savage variety, tons of range units, boar boy biggins, which we've seen do plenty of damage in village, all alone with his army here. Though we do have those blue scribes to rely upon, which have served us so well in battles past. Anyway, not much more to say. I guess we can pop the Razor Standard on probably one of the Chaos Warriors. I was thinking about giving them to the Severed Claw, but no, more units to take advantage of it. And these guys already hit pretty darn hard, so why not buff up another unit? Also, yeah, I think we're looking to probably finish up this campaign within the week or two. Well, maybe not. I don't know. When's Thrones of Decay coming out? I don't know, or at least I'm not recalling it right now. But I think that we should probably finish this one off, as it is likely that Tamarkan will be getting one of the campaigns, and people will be all chaosed out if there's 2 simultaneous chaos campaigns. Still, there's still a lot of big battles to be had here, and see how much of the world we can conquer before the Thrones rolls around. Village, it's your time, away you go. Alrighty, here we go. I'm expecting great things from this particular battle. Should be a pretty fun one. And now Village is joined by a cold Hellbrass as well. And the 2 being both a relatively slow and hard to kill infantry units, so they should sort of complement each other. I'd actually be interested in sending both of them out by themselves to dish out damage or to fight an enemy army. Not necessarily this one, but just generally to see how long the 2 could survive fighting back to back. But anyway, this is going to probably be a fairly tough battle, so we do have to consider how we set this up. Fortunately, we have 2 impassable objects here. I mean, they can get around the flanks, sort of, but these objects should help us essentially form up and create a wall of Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch with halberds, and hopefully hold back the green tide here. 3 stacks after all. We do, however, have to contend with all those 9 pieces of enemy artillery, which are going to be firing upon us the entire time through, and thus we're going to send forth, as we usually do, the blue scribes to try to deal with those artillery pieces. Looks like the blue scribes will be the ones to be fired upon, at least at first, but probably because they're the only ones currently in range. Although that's about to change, and hopefully we can... oh wow, that's a lot of rocks coming in. Too bad there's no like animation of like a like an artillery missile bonking like a big old flying in the head or something. It would be entertaining. Anyway, we have to cast whatever it is we can cast, so the Flame Storm is the only decent option to start off, and that's what we're going to do, followed by that Blossom Wind, was it? I always forget the name of that spell. I just don't use it enough. It seems inferior to something like Wind of Death, so even when we roll it, well, it does go on and on for quite a while, but by the looks of it, it's sort of clipped one of the units and veered off too significantly. Oh well, I do, however, like the Wall of Wind and Fire, or is it just Wall of Fire, as it is such a cheap spell and yet so effective at knocking out weaker units like this, and the Gabo Rock Lobbers are going to be very vulnerable to it. I also love the smoke trail that it leaves behind, and the burnt and burning, I guess, cinders on the ground there. Quite effective. Oh, it seems to have disappeared, but I think it's it's still going, as we can clearly see units still dying. There we go. It does occasionally and disappear. A fireball moving in, and 2 out of the 3 Goblin Rock Lobbers have been destroyed. The AI is, of course, waiting for its reinforcements, which are arriving in pretty darn big numbers now. And soon the battle proper, let's say, will be joined. Still have to destroy this rock lobber. It looks like it's going to try to target some of our Chaos Warriors or Aspiring Champions, specifically the Severed Claw now. We're going to pop a Heart of Winter and try to slow these guys down and hopefully drop another Vortex spell on them. And finally, I've been trying to get any kind of summon spell rolled onto the Blue Scribes, and finally we get the Ancestral Warrior summon, which shall probably prevent the Goblin Rock Lobbers from firing. And there are so many summoning options in the available spells, and that was the first time we rolled one, but you know, luck of the draw, that sort of thing. Anyway, it looks like the enemy cavalry will be the first in, as they usually are. The AI does have a bad tendency to sort of send them ahead, or at the very least the boar boys on the leftmost flank. We're on the rightmost flank at some spiders joined by some gobos and some bone clubbers, which are actually suffering quite a bit of damage due to the pink and blue horrors firing away at them. Now, normally we probably would like the spawn to be interspersed among our Chaos Warriors, but unfortunately, as it looks like some of the enemy AI units will be trying to flank us and get around those impassable terrain pieces, we'll have to leave the spawn of Zinch there. Probably the Chaos Warriors would have been the better choice for it, but the spawn are nearly twice as fast in terms of their movement speed, and thus it's probably just going to be easier to get them to deal with faster moving targets like the boar boys, who aren't particularly fast themselves at 74 move speed. Anyway, we're gonna keep some of the big boys over on this flank to fight against all those boar boys. The Mutalith Vortex Beast joined by the Lord of Change. We did lose that cockatrice long time ago now, but I, at the end of the day, decided to go for the Lord of Change instead. The little bit of extra healing that it offers, I think, for the Mutalith Vortex Beasts, which have a tendency to get the most hurt in this army, as they're big old barns, i.e. big old targets for any enemy range units, is probably going to be a little bit more valuable than the melee defense and attack debuff that the cockatrice offers. Anyway, our main line is very much holding. In fact, the main line has barely been touched at this point. Of course, the enemy is still very much on the way. We got plenty more arriving, and 4 the rogue idols still to get on the field. The village has been sent out all the way, well, away from the army, because he's basically invincible and one of the hardest to kill lords. And he can just fight out here doing whatever he wants, dueling an enemy lord when he can, and keeping a few of the enemies also distracted, which should serve our purposes, as it will allow those blue and pink horrors to continue firing, and firing at units that are more blobbed up rather than the units that are currently fighting our Chaos Warriors of Zinch, as we obviously would rather minimize the friendly fire. A cold Hellbrass rather is running around trying to get a duel with the enemy Lord, which is led these Orc Boar Boys all the way out here. And yeah, the relative slowness of an infantry lord like this is what's causing some problems. He has finally reached the enemy lord, though, and and will immediately fall down. Okay, come on, A-Cold. But at least he should feel right at home with the presence of the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Anyway, looks like we can keep the enemy lord in place, or locked in place, with the Lord of Change, and allow A-Cold to close. You get a few hits in there, and then we can send the Lord of Change away while the two duke it out. Alright, and here comes the Cataclysm spell, Magma Storm, I believe it's called. We get that heat lightning within that volcanic eruption-like ability. Pretty darn big blob of enemies that it hit. It also clipped our own unit slightly and damaging the Chaos Warriors, but we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 units basically destroyed, and a couple more clipped. Piles and piles of bodies. I've been waiting to get a nice use of that Cataclysm spell that the Blue Scribes offers. We also have a summon from the Aspiring Champions, the additional unit of Pink Horrors, and just standing out front and absorbing some of the hits before they dissipate, crumble. get banished, whatever. Well, it's actually probably just run out of time because it's a summoned unit. But anyway, still plenty more enemy units to take care of as blobs upon blobs of greenskins are trying to break through our lines. Lots of work for the mutants this time around, of course, as they've got that damaging aura of theirs, which should come in real handy. It looks like the terrain was definitely in our favor here, as these two impassable terrain pieces have been really, really helpful. Cold is still dueling the enemy lord and has not yet lost his barrier, while the lord is below half HP now. And at the very least, he will have gotten something out of this. Probably should be standing around with the rest of our units, mowing down infantry and helping out our bigger units, but I just couldn't say no to getting him a duel, even if it did peel him away from the rest of the army. Anyway, looks like the enemy lord will break with about 3/4 of his HP taken down. One of our units of spawn related, this is a Mutal Vortex beast, has been heavily damaged and has been focused down quite a bit by the enemy range units, as we were talking about earlier in the battle. We are trying to get rid of said enemy range units, which have also been targeting the damn war shrine. Oh, those poor war shrines, every darn time. Yeah, this guy's gonna have to back off now. Aegir Mordkin. I mean, I like the fact that we have at least one war shrine in this army, because it can stay with the blob of infantry, but damn are they always such targets. Oh well, Black Orcs here facing off against Chaos Wars of Tzeentch. 100 weapon strength on them. Damn, these guys hit hard. 59 armor piercing, 41 base. We do have that 222 armor on our Chaos boys, though. And now it's time for the Rogue Idols to move on in. We're gonna send pretty much everything at these guys, or at least at this one, while it is essentially by itself, and we're going to start taking a few steps forward and getting better positions with our Chaos Warriors. A few of them have been damaged. These guys are now down to nearly half HP, as this flank was relatively tough. And the Rogue Idols have a ton of HP as well, but we can keep debuffing them and having our larger units assassinate them. Might have actually been a better option to keep them in place with, or keep the Rogue Idol in place with a Cold or with Village, and just snipe it down with piles of horrors. But I think our big boys wanted to have some fun as well. And I don't just mean mowing down infantry. Alright, a couple more hits and it looks like this big boy will crumble away. There we go, gotta love those gate beams coming in from the mutilates. Alright, and down he goes, crumbling and probably hurting our Chaos Warriors. Over here we see 3 Rogue Idols sort of working together. Village has moved in with his bodyguard, the Severed Claw, to start fighting against him. Ooh, I like this shot. That's fantastic. There we go. Very nice. Very nice indeed, Rogue Idols. Well, Village can take care of one without a problem, or rather that one will probably never be able to get through his defenses, and he'll slowly wear it down. We got other units moving in. We can also see Doom Divers now flying overhead as the additional artillery units have made their way onto the field, and they're going to start knocking out individual units of infantry. It's time to start moving even more forward, getting additional fire support from our various horrors, and go from sort of a line to sort of a semicircle formation here. We've also got our blue scribes moving in. It's time to drop a few more spells, and we may as well mill through those spells, as we do need healing for various units now, but we certainly have to bring down all of these darn catapults and stuff. Flames of Asgore, pretty effective spell add to this sort of thing, and the single cast will at least force one of the units to waver. Got more spells where that came from, as Gehenna's Golden Hounds coming down. There we go, chill wind, just cast anything and everything, stop these guys from firing, otherwise they'll do more damage than the entire Orky army has done so far. Looks like the Savage Orc Rogue Idol, or these are just regular Rogue Idols. Rogue Idols are still holding, but one of them's down to half HP and the rest of the enemy army, by the looks of it, has begun to shatter. Of course, these guys are unbreakable, other than the fact that they will literally break in half. Or into pieces, rather. But we actually have to manually break them apart. So that's what we're gonna do. And everybody is in here. We got that weird spawn, a few more Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch. I always feel bad for the Rogue Idols. But they look so confused when they crumble apart. Alright, just a matter of taking these guys down. Oh, damn, this has been a long battle, hasn't it? It's also pretty a nice contest. The Mutalith versus the Rogue Idol. The Gaze of Fate reducing the effectiveness of the Rogue Idol, but also seemingly the Eye of Tzeentch just looking down upon it. A Lord of Change looking down on the battlefield. And great shots from the Rogue Idols this time around. Gotta give them some praise for that sort of thing. And yeah, we're nearly at 11 minutes of straight up, well, I guess probably more like 10 minutes of straight up combat, but yeah, very long battle. Hardly surprising, of course, with all the reinforcements and stuff that arrived on the field, but a very nice battle indeed. We have been getting great ones to this portion of the campaign. Anyway, we're going to do our best to chase off as many of the enemies as we can, though unfortunately most of our army is far too slow to do it, so we'll catch whatever we can and then yeah, there we go. I was gonna say do the rest off screen, but that was all we could do as the army is too fast anyway. Ooh, damn, 27k gold for that one. Pretty darn good, though not surprising. Tough little fight. We certainly were able to hold the line for the glory of Tzeentch, getting 1,505 kills on the Blue Scribes and 160,000 damage as well. Village once again proves just absolutely unkillable, uncaring of whether he's fighting rogue idols or dueling enemy lords or standing by himself in a big old blob of enemy units, just completely undamaged. And Cold Hellbrass got to play a little bit. Like Village, he has the problem of being very, very slow, being an infantry lord without too much speed, and while he did get to duel an enemy lord, he didn't do too much more, though of course he does provide his auras. Let's see. Otherwise, 184 kills, so it looks like the Severed Claw and this unit of Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch did the best, at least in terms of damage. As always, the Mutaliths did fantastic, 56 and 48k damage on the Unnamed and the Spawn of Rillier, and 25k damage on one of the units of Spawn of Tzeentch. The other one had to sort of chase an enemy unit down for too long, and I kind of regret that. Thus was not present for a lot of that particular battle. Now, it'll be interesting to see whether these guys actually try to heal up or, well, back away, or whether they try to attack us again here, as, well, this army still has the big old problem of it not being able to chase very well, but it looks like they will back off. Alright, what do we have here? Gisoro to get attacked by some garbage units. I don't really care enough about those to bother fighting it. And just a garbage little garrison place. And what is this? Azabor, you're gonna... Why would you... Man, this is not worth our time. I don't even know why... Oh, right. I summoned this guy nearby with just a bunch of random units in the hopes of, if the Bretonnians were to attack this place, that we'd have a little bit more of a garrison, but it looks like it's the dead that attack it. But anyway, I don't really care about the doggos. They were summoned temporarily. Watch the Bretonnians attack us off of that. And of course, most of the army will survive, but we got other armies nearby, so... they can capitalize on all that, and it looks like nobody else will be attacking us. Fantastic. Army receives plague. There we go. Yeah, this is why we summoned Azabor, because Lewin's right here. Though, Festus is right here as well. We were going to originally send him to Mousillon, but now it seems like he's best off trying to fight Lewin. Trickster's cult discovered in Wurtbed. Do we care about this? They're our only ally. Do we care about this? It'll piss them off if we burn it down, unless I'm mistaken. Okay, we have a bunch of items that we don't really care about. Vashinar, you have a Pendant of Slaanesh. I can go to an actual Slaaneshi. A unit, a Chaos Charrier, for whoever this is. No Chaos Chariots. And sacrifice to Mathland. Ally occupies settlement, 1,000 Maws. Yeah, great job to Rakarth. He keeps occupying stuff we tell him to occupy. Oh, it's only in tier 3. It's a little bit disappointing. Shuttle's back at tier 1. We may have to send Malefics around to destroy this guy, and we should take Subaton before Rakarth does, though I hesitate to put my faith in him being able to actually hold Itza. Probably destroy the rest of that as well. But anyway, lots of stuff to do, clearly. Wa fails, Broken Axe, Settlement sacked, Gisura, alright, present there. And Giant Manacles, and that'll come in handy. And the 20% missile resistance for Trolls, Giants, and Cockatrices in particular. Gotta appreciate that. The Cockatrices have a tendency to get wrecked. What we also, I think, want to go for is the War Machines upgrade. Ward save 15% for Chaos War Shrines. I think it's going to be pretty darn necessary. We also got the armor upgrade for all of these guys, but frankly, they have enough armor on them right now, so I think we'll prioritize War Machines. Too bad that this doesn't apply to heroes riding those, but, well, it's something. What we also need to take a look at is, let's see. I think Deadly Transmission can be swapped out to Pestilent Plague Fathers, yes, or Pestilent whatever, because we needed another Great Unclean One in Festus's army. I no longer remember what I was going to get rid of here. Probably one of the doggos. Mostly I mean, they're great. They're fantastic. They're incredible. But, well, we use them in pretty much every Nurglite army, and just gotta keep it a little bit different. You have your 2 Bloodthirsters. You're missing your Exalted Hero. So you're more or less fine. And we have Violent Hunter. I'm just wondering whether we should get anything. Well, I think either way, Deadly Transmissions has to get swapped out to Pestilent Plague Fathers, because we will need a Great Unclean One in there, so do it. It's the right one, right? Deadly Transmission, not Bloom of Decay. Growth per region, yeah. Alright, Pestilent Plague Fathers. Alright, good. Lewin, it's time for you to face off against Festus, who, well, has gotten some great fights, and it looks like we'll give him a few more at least. Might as well take Kurun then, since we're going to veer away from Mousillon. I'm curious to see whether Lewin will actually fight this. He does have plenty of Pegasus Knights. And it looks like he will. Valiant defeat indeed. Alright, well, we'll see about that, shan't we, won't we? Let's get to it. Alright, here we go. Festus may have had his debut battle or battles over the last few episodes, but his army is still growing, still evolving, and getting those additional units. We got 3 Great Unclean Ones in here now, and our 4 Beasts of Nurgle, of course. None of the other Nurgle armies that we're using are like this, so it's only appropriate. We do have the Bilious Thunderguff in here as well now, just because I wanted a giant to sort of knock out single entities and act as an anti-large unit. Or an anti-lord unit. Basically any individual targets, like that Mortis engine that we were having trouble with, and the Vargulfs that we were having trouble with when fighting the vampire counts. Of course, it didn't mean that the enemy could actually kill our units, as we had way too much regeneration from that sort of thing. And hey, it's the Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis, looking pretty darn good riding around. Though they probably won't be looking too good for too long, as it's Nurgle they're fighting, and well, that's always a pretty disgusting prospect. Anyway, Pegasus Knights touch down. It looks like some of them to go for Festus and others to target whatever it is that they can. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Oh, wow, and it is some Eternal Guard with, well, with no shields, but they hardly need shields against Nurgle. Kind of bizarre seeing them in Bretonian colors, or in Kurun's colors in particular. Kind of unexpected for a Wood Elf faction. But hey, they're certainly blending in with the rest of the units, and perhaps not so much to be said for the Dryads, but nonetheless. Anyway, once again, we've essentially blobbed up, not quite into a Death Star, sort of separating into two individual mini blobs. Just so that the blobs are sort of around our war shrines. And there we go, Bilious Thunderguff immediately targeting King Lewin. That's why we brought him, or at least one of the reasons why we brought him, and hopefully he'll do well after that. Infantry is still holding and get that Summon of Chaos spawn to help out as well. Not that we're in trouble or anything, but why not put more bodies between us and the enemy in such a way that the bodies are summoned units. Lewin's down to about 60% of his HP, though he has plenty of fight in him by the looks of it, but the Bilious Thunderguff will continue following him around, and indeed, Lewin has sort of forced our blobs to combine into a single Death Star, which means additional healing from those healing elixirs going on all of our army, rather than parts of it. Over in the background, of course, we're using our Hounds of Decay to knock out those field trebs, which have been firing the entire time, and we certainly don't want them knocking out any of our Chaos Warriors. Out here, the other two units of our Hounds have unfortunately been caught by Pegasus Knights and Questing Knights, but unfortunately for the enemy, neither of these units have magical damage, and thus they're going to have a pretty difficult time dealing with the 55 physical resistance on the Hounds. Especially with the Miasma of Pestilence reducing enemy attack. Looks like King Lewin is down to about 25% HP, not having a great time, surrounded by Great Unclean Ones, Beasts of Nurgle, and that Bilious Thunderguff, as well as the Great Axes of our Chaos Warriors. Sorry, Lewin, twas brave of you perhaps to sort of join the battle right in the middle of the fray like this, but it certainly didn't work out. Alright, and the enemy is still surrounding us, so that's just the risk you're likely to take when you are running a Death Star formation, but it looks like the enemy hasn't really been able to do too much in the way of damage, or at least if they did, they certainly failed to capitalize on it, and most of it's been healed. Alright, up, we're at about 90% balance of power now, and Lewin is coming back in to rejoin the fray, only for the Great Unclean One and the Bilious Thunderguff to react to him again. And there's just too many monsters here. Lewin will try to run out there. His knights will try to bail him out, and looks like this Great Unclean One managed to get the final blow. Very nice. Very nice indeed. It almost felt like Lewin was a little bit too far from this Great Unclean One. I'm not sure how that... Oh, maybe it just... he wasn't too far, but then the death animation took the model of Beaky forward together with him. Well, that's a problem for both of them. Anyway, with the Lewin's fall, the battle is pretty much ours. We can see everybody wavering and the chain rout about to occur. Of course, the Battle Pilgrims and SFO will fight to the death, but death will come quite shortly. Alright, looking pretty ugly for these guys, surrounded by monsters as they are. Ooh, nice final blows from those Chaos Warriors running in with their axes, and there we go. Oh, no, there was, what, one? Is it one? Kinda hard to see them. It's one in there somewhere. Our units are probably getting in each other's way trying to destroy that one unit. Anyway, there we go. Looks like the damage was minor, if existent at all. We've probably lost a couple of units of our Chaos Warriors to various heroes, Lewin, Paladins, and possibly the enemy Trebuchets, but otherwise the healing just keeps everyone in a good place. And this is why this army is mostly composed of monstrous units, or at least has a lot of the monstrous units, as they'll obviously get a lot more mileage out of the healing than Chaos Warriors and Chosen will, due to their low model counts, and the fact that we don't resurrect units like the vampires do, but we can keep them nice and healed up. Very nice, very nice. I'm still loving the way that all the various Nurgle armies that we have really fight very differently from each other. Man, I don't know why the auto-resolve keeps underestimating this particular army. It's got 3 great unclean ones, 2 war shrines, a bunch of beasts of Nurgle, Chaos Warriors, Bilious Thunderguff, and it just seems to be constantly underestimated. And it's got such an absurd level of regeneration slash healing of various varieties in it, that it seems bizarre that Festus keeps getting a valiant defeat or whatever from the auto-resolve. But what can you do? What can you do? A nice battle. Festus got an even 20,000 damage, huh? That's interesting. How'd you manage to pull that off? I don't think I've ever seen that before, at least not in high numbers. If it's like 500 or something, sure, but yeah. Unlikely, but very nice nonetheless. Lewin went down, as did a decent amount of his troops, though of course Pegasus Knights escaped. That's, well, we were never going to be able to chase them down. Though the Hands of Decay did do a fantastic job at knocking those non-magical damage dealing Pegasus Knights out, together with any of the other knights they came in contact with. And it makes me think not to delete some of them, but we gotta put room for exalted heroes in this army, and we can't have it to be the same as other armies. Anyway, judging by the fact that the auto-resolve was saying, and this is gonna hurt. Okay, wait. Here, Azabor, get a few more units. Like so. And then Festi, you here. And I'll resolve that, and hopefully that won't do too much damage to us. Really? Really? That took like half of our Chaos Wars. Oh, shit. The auto-resolve, why? Why? What did Festus do to you? He hasn't been on the field long enough to do anything to anybody. This is just peak rudeness to the good doctor. Anyway, looks like Kuran is in range. We could actually hit it with Azubor. Oh wait, no, he won't have siege attacker, will he? So we can't actually hit it without Festus, so we'll have to wait anyway. Alright, fine. Festus, I'm gonna sit around here for a little bit. We're gonna chase these guys down now. That seems unlikely. Alright, fine. Azabor, sit here in Castle Artois as well. Like so, and I'll have to deal with these guys somehow, some way, someday. It would have been nice to have been able to send Festus after them as well. Actually, what do we have in here? Oh, it's Isabella. I was wondering if whether this army could kill it, but, well, they wouldn't be able to kill Isabella, even if they would be able to kill everything else. Jaeger, you could move back around. Well, you know what? There's a lot of options, but we'll have to figure those out between the episodes plus next time around, because I'm going to call it here. Relatively short episode, I think, but I'll do one tomorrow as well. Going to try to ramp it up and keep it daily for the next little while until we finish up the campaign. Plus, there's a lot of stuff I want to move around to sort of position our stuff or our armies for the next battles, as there are many battles to be had, and we're not going to waste time on admin on screen as much as we can towards the end. Anyway, calling it here. More Archaon to come tomorrow, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.